This program is designed and produced by the community with the support of TV Cogeco.
So there you go. Hi, welcome to this week's edition of Up to Date. I'm Bruce McIntyre with the Warden of the County of Renfrew, Peter Emon. This week we're going to talk on a larger scope of the county. It's, as we always say, the largest geographical county.
Yes, it is.
But it's part of a membership, kind of a neat fraternity, if you will, called the Eastern Ontario Wardens Caucus. And Peter, for our viewers out there, tell us about this affiliation of county governments.
Eastern Ontario Wardens Caucus was formed in early 2002. And it is 13 upper-tier municipalities stretching from the border with Leeds-Grenville all the way through to the city of Kawartha Lakes. It has about 1.2 million people and covers 55,000 square miles. There are 103 local lower-tier municipalities represented by the 13 upper tiers.
Okay, and for just to let our viewers know, they have the Eastern Ontario Wardens Caucus, and within something separate is the actual cities. Their cities are a separate entity as well. The city of Pembroke is not part of the county of Renfrew, which a lot of our viewers probably weren't aware of. Did you know that? So anyway, and some of the initiatives that the caucus is undertaking.
Well, right now, in the past, there's been the Eastern Ontario Regional Network.
Yep.
Right now, we're in the process of applying for some government funding to conduct an economic development strategy for Eastern Ontario, because most of the area in Eastern Ontario is residential primarily, and there's a steady decline in industrial and business properties and assessment, and that's worrisome because you lose the assessment as a municipality, and everybody knows that assessment drives our budgeting process. And then also you lose the places for people to work, and if they're not working, they're not spending money. And then that has a further impact on business that's difficult for them to survive. So we are looking at developing a strategy. It's called 2020 to get us to 2020. And we're just waiting on the results of the application for funding. And
speaking of applications, about 10 years ago, the process was started. 150 years ago, the railroad built this country, part of the link of infrastructure. 21st century, the link is high-tech and internet. So tell us about one of the very big success stories of the Wardens Caucus.
Eastern Ontario Regional Network was formed by the Eastern Ontario Wardens Caucus. The application went in about 2009, and there's $55 million promised and delivered by the federal government and by the provincial government. Great deal of lobbying by all the MPs and MPPs in Eastern Ontario. So we're very, very grateful for the efforts of John Yakubuski and Cheryl Gallant, because they met with us and continue to support it and support it to this day. So there's $55 million from the province, $55 million from the federal government, and there is, the total project was $170 million, with $10 million coming from the Eastern Ontario Wardens Caucus members, which Renfrew County, I think, contributed $900,000. And then the private partnership of Barrett Explorenet, Bell Alliant, and Bell itself put in another $27 million, I believe. We've since guesstimated and predict that the initial investment, instead of being $170 million, is probably closer to about $225, $230 million. And it's laying down about 550 kilometers, or 5,500 kilometers of DSL and wire and fiber optics, and opening up 160 new ports for the new internet providers. And so 95% of our area, from the Eastern Ontario Wardens Caucus, the 55,000 square miles, will be covered with high-speed internet or broadband or some kind of connectivity that's much improved from dial-up and what we had before. So
we're going to lose that bad sound when you try to
exactly.
And it's not just, for myself or my family, it's kind of an entertainment tool, but for businesses, it's a necessity.
Yes, I was on county council when Pastaways from Brudenell came in to talk to us, Brudenell, Lindock, and Raglan. And they were in a real death fight with other providers, because the big box and smaller suppliers right now, they want to be able to fax in an order, email in an order, get a quote, get it back out to the guy in 5 or 10 minutes, and then have it delivered the next day. And because they didn't have high-speed access, they were really struggling, and it was making life difficult for them, and it wasn't a level playing field. And that's to the credit of the wardens of the day, Warden Wisniewski, Warden Rathwell, and Warden Sweet. They recognized that, and they went to bat with the other wardens across the caucus and said, look, we have to level the playing field. And that's what it's done, is leveling the playing field. And
when you mentioned leveling the playing field, one of the constant battles you and the other caucus members have is taking this message to Toronto. When you go to lobby, be the upper or senior levels of government, that the needs of Eastern Ontario are quite different than the needs of downtown Toronto. And
yes, just as for instance, transportation. When we build a kilometre of road, it's supported by 5 ratepayers in our area. When the city or a larger urban area builds it, it's supported by 25 ratepayers.
So 5 times the amount.
5 times the amount. And so that's the kind of message when you get it to them, they go, oh, wow, I never noticed that. And so you talk about those things. You talk about the managed forests and the crown land and farmland tax rebates and all of those things which are provincial initiatives, but we fund at the local level. And so we talk to them about how much money that takes out of it. And so we're estimating that it could be a 6 or 10% tax increase if we tried to recover that revenue right away, as opposed to trying to level it out. And so it's a challenge.
And you mentioned the economic study going on right now, and one of the things that Warden's Caucus has been successful in by partnering with Community Futures is the Eastern Ontario Development Program, which has created stimulus for our local economies.
Yes, it's been in existence for 10 years, but it took a lot of lobbying, first to get it established, and then to get it funded on an ongoing basis, and then secondly to have them recognize that all businesses who applied couldn't support 9 or 10 new employees. So they lessened the criteria a little bit, so some of the smaller ones in our area could benefit from it. And so it's been a success story because $80 million has been the investment by the federal government over the last 10 years, and it's leveraged about another $260 to $280 million in spending from the private sector. So
and not just that, it's created permanent jobs.
Permanent jobs.
And they end up paying taxes, and it just has that follow through
effect.
It's
a great investment.
And one of the nice things that happened recently, the federal budget was announced, and the envelope money for the regional development funds was renewed, which was a nice thing, and makes it easier for us. So as we wrap up this week on Up to Date, I just want to let our viewers know that there are information available on the website for Eastern Ontario Warden's Caucus and initiatives they've taken. So if you're interested, take a moment, take a look at what not just the County of Renfrew, but Eastern Ontario has done to help the businesses and the residents of the area. So we'll pick up on that another time. For Warden Emon, I'm Bruce McIntyre, and we'll see you next time on Up to Date.